Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture, aka the man of 1004 backdrops, Armbar. Coming up today, I'm going to tell you all about the latest developments for AEW Full Gear, and there are a lot of them. And on top of that, I'm going to tell you the former WWE star that not only thinks Triple H is boring, lol, but also thinks he should have been booted from Evolution.
Plus a major title change on last night's spooky episode of NXT and how one of WWE's most controversial characters was possibly even more controversial. This is the news, but we start things off with Halloween Havoc.
It's
there we go.
Aleister Black on his way to the ring.
And Andy Murray, was last night's Halloween Havoc the best Halloween Havoc ever?
Well, Adam Wilborn, if you want to accurately answer that question, you can check out the rankings, worst to best Halloween Havoc, that is up on our channel now. I presented it, so, if you're into that kind of thing, have a watch.
It is well worth checking out. But I loved last night's episode of NXT and their revamped Halloween Havoc concept. We had Shotzi Blackheart with her crazy wheel picking stipulations for the NXT North American Championship and the NXT Women's Championship match. Tables, ladders, and scares in the main event. But I do need to tell you about a major title change that happened. Johnny Gargano is, I believe, the first ever NXT North American Champion for the second time. He defeated Damian Priest in the opener, getting a bit of help from that bloke out of Scream. Yeah. What's his name, Andy?
David Arquette.
Nope, Ghostface, I believe, is the character that the
That's a Wu-Tang Clan member, mate. What are you on about?
He attacked Damian Priest as they were brawling up near the wheel, and then helped Gargano twat him with tombstone, not the Undertaker's move, literally a physical tombstone, hit him with one of that, knocked him off the stage, and then Johnny Gargano crawled over, pinned him, and became the first ever two-time NXT North American Champion. A great show. We also saw the return of Pete Dunne, who aligned himself with Pat McAfee's gaggle of bastards. Can someone say, War Games? I sense that's where it's going anyway. Io Shirai retained. She defended her NXT Women's Championship in a really good main event against Candice LeRae. Rhea Ripley emerged victorious. It was just, all in all, a bloody great night, except if your name, Andy Murray, is Kerwin, baby.
He's not going to the moon anymore because his spaceship crashed. I haven't actually watched Halloween Havoc yet because I didn't fancy getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning today. So I'm saving it for myself after work as a nice little treat. Can't wait to check it out. And I'm going to enjoy it with one of our Halloween Havoc beers here, courtesy of our friends at Top Rope Brewing. If you're in the United Kingdom and you want some really good beer that's named after wrestling stuff, check them out. Google them. You can buy from all kinds of outlets. You can get them directly from the brewers themselves, which is the best way to do it because then there's no middleman taking chunks of the profit and stuff. Check them out. Great beers. I wouldn't endorse it if I didn't personally drink them. The Vanilla Monsoon in particular is mwah. Anyway, speaking of things that are mwah, let's move on to the Halloween Havoc. I'm all over the place. To the Full Gear developments. AEW, last night's Dynamite. Lots of stuff going on. Not going to recap the whole show because I don't have 2 hours. However, the big developments for Full Gear are as follows. Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, as expected, finals of the World Title Eliminator Tournament. Omega defeated Penta El Zero M, and Hangman Page defeated Wardlow, the big beefy hunk, on last night's show. Great matches across the board. The only disappointment, where were the dancing hunks, Kenny? Come on, you got to give the people what they want. We've also got Chris Jericho versus MJF. The stipulation there is that MJF, if he wins, will be allowed to join the Inner Circle. This was a product of the town hall meeting that saw the return of bloody Eric Bischoff, or Eric B, from Cody, Wyoming, not to be confused with Eric B and Rakim. We've got a women's title match between Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose. We're also getting John Silver, our boy, our favorite, versus Orange Cassidy on the buy-in pre-show. This came after Silver interfered in the TNT title match between Cody and Orange Cassidy last night. And on top of that, we've got a special stipulation for FTR versus the Young Bucks. If Young Bucks lose, they will never challenge for the AEW World Tag Team titles again. That's kind of a retread of the Cody thing, obviously, with the world title and so forth. But it does add a little bit of extra stakes and so forth to the match. Card's looking good so far. We already had some strong stuff on there. Moxley and Kingston, Cody and Allen. Of course, Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. That's going to be an elite deletion. Hey man, it's looking like a long-ass show, I can tell you that from looking at this, but I think it'll be a good card.
Yeah, absolutely. A stacked card. You could argue some of these matches have kind of been hoyed on at the last minute. Not quite, WWE last minute, but the Women's Championship match where they just went, bollocks, Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose just kind of seems to have come out of nowhere. Although I do know that Nyla Rose has been racking up wins on Dark and the like, so that's probably a part of it. Silver versus Cassidy on the buy-in's a great shout. Weird stipulation. We'll get into it in more detail in our podcast, talking all about MJF having to beat Jericho to join the Inner Circle, but it does add a lot more intrigue when MJF said he would do anything to join the Inner Circle. Just what does he mean now? I don't know who to pick. Two of my best friends fighting against each other. Speaking of my best friend, by the way, great to see Bad News Barrett, I'm afraid of course, Bad News, come back on last night's episode of Halloween Havoc. But yeah, really excited for Full Gear. Next Saturday, we will, I assume, be doing a live stream for it. I'm up for doing it. If anyone wants to join me and can be asked, then we'll probably do it. But anyway, let's move on and talk all about Kerwin White. Do you remember Kerwin White? Oh, he was problematic. His catchphrase, I'm going to read this verbatim. I am reading this, okay? This isn't my sentence. Do not, clip this off. Kerwin's White catchphrase was, if it's not right, it's not white. Right. Okay. Awful, obviously.
Bad.
But Chavo Guerrero, the guy behind that legendary character, infamous, I think is probably the best way of putting it, sat down with the brilliant Chris Van Vliet, friend of the channel, of course, for a really interesting interview, well worth going to check out in its entirety. But he revealed that awful catchphrase and that disgusting character nearly got even worse. He once pitched the idea of coming out wearing a white sheet as a means of drawing heat. And I don't think, Andy Murray, that meant he was going to be dressed as a ghost. He said, the KKK sheet got abandoned because Vince McMahon and Guerrero decided it was a little too risque. You don't say! Guerrero continued, I grew up in a time in wrestling when the more heat, the better. I wanted to fight my way to the dressing room every night. I wanted to be in the streets and people yell, we hate you. Well, yeah, that would have done it, I suppose, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly would have made people upset, but not in the way you're looking for. Yeah, I mean, look, this would have been absolutely atrocious, of course. WWE, with their subtlety hammer, has no business whatsoever covering topics like this. Even how long ago was Kerwin White? 15 years ago or so forth? No. Get this in the bin. Let's move on, please. Let's just move on from Kerwin White, Jesus. Let's talk Triple H, who's apparently boring. Do you think Triple H is boring? If you are, there's a good chance your name is Mark Jindrak. Mark Jindrak was, of course, considered for an early role in Evolution. It was going to be him, Randy Orton, Triple H, and Ric Flair. They filmed promo materials with Mark Jindrak in. It was a done deal until it got cancelled. This was apparently due to immaturity on the roads between Jindrak and Orton. They were kind of arsing around in these shared car journeys and so forth. You probably know the story, but Jindrak was on the Sitting Ringside show recently, and he talked about what happened. And he believes that Triple H, not him, should have been booted from Evolution. He should have got rid of Triple H and kept Mark Jindrak. Why does he think this? And these are his words. Because he was the bore. He was boring as... Man, he was boring as... All right, okay, fair enough. He also went on talking about how in the Ruthless Aggression documentary, Triple H was like, yeah, man, me and Ric Flair, we just decided that Mark wasn't right for the group. Jindrak said, it was not Ric in any way, shape, or form. It was Triple H, and that's the whole thing. And he says that the team-building car rides that the stable used to take together exposed Triple H as, and I quote, a non-charismatic bore. So Jindrak obviously didn't end up in the stable. He was booted out. Batista came in instead. The rest is history. He was released by WWE, Jindrak was, in 2005, but he carved out a nice little career for himself in Mexico. He was in CMLL as Marco Corleone, but he hasn't competed there since 2018. It's just the kind of quote that's going to get a lot of people talking. Jindrak can say what the hell he wants, man. He was there. He lived through these things. It's kind of interesting to think of like what Evolution would have been without Triple H, though, because Ric Flair...
would it?
Right, exactly, because it was generations, right? You had Ric Flair, you had Triple H being like as the generation younger, and then you had the youngest generation of Orton and Batista. If you take Triple H out of there, you're missing a whole step. So it's not really Evolution, it's Ric Flair and his kind of big sons. But hey, man, I respect it. The WWE, I always have a soft spot for the WCW power plant guys. I thought they were a lot of fun, despite their flaws here and there. And shout outs to Mark Jindrak, I guess.
Yeah, Jindrak's one of those what ifs, isn't it? What if he'd have been in Evolution? What if Cassius Ohno had been in the Shield? But one thing is, without question, whether or not you think Triple H is a bore or not, his reign of terror was really boring. So
that part was boring. Yeah.
I mean, like you say, Evolution wouldn't have been Evolution without Triple H. But you got to feel sorry for Jindrak. But like you say, glad he'd be able to carve out a career for himself. And go and check out the rest of that interesting chat with him when you can. Let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, if you want to get in touch with us. Jake starts us off today. Should Wardlow cost MJF his match against Jericho and then reveal he no longer needs MJF's contract because he's now under contract with the Demo God?
Ooh. I think the Wardlow, I can't speak today, man. I think the Wardlow MJF thing could benefit from a slightly longer build and slower burn. So, last night on Dynamite, we got that segment to open the show where they were really like, hey, I'm MJF, and if you're my employee, and if you win the world title, I'm the world champ. They were really leaning on it quite heavily. But I think they can stretch that out for a few more months. Yeah, I don't necessarily think it'll happen at the pay-per-view, but I wouldn't be entirely surprised if it did.
Yes, exactly. And more intrigue around this MJF Wardlow, and particularly the Wardlow character. Me and Sid are going to sit down at some point this week and talk about his future in AEW, because he's going to be a megastar, as you pointed out on Twitter after seeing him first talk on the Road to series just this week. So that podcast will probably be out over the weekend if you want to go and listen to that. What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from. But I like that idea, Jake. Second question today comes from Broken Matt. He says, good evening from Alaska. Time difference, so confusing. I'm loving the collab between the NWA and AEW that we're seeing with the Women's World Championship. Of course, congratulations to Serena Deeb on her title defense last night. What do you think about seeing Nick Aldis also defend his world title on AEW TV?
I'm really interested in this NWA situation because I was on the media call for All Out, for the pay-per-view, and Tony Khan was asked about it and basically said that the whole thing was just the extent of a personal relationship between him and Billy Corgan. Talked about using Thunder Rosa on TV and at the pay-per-view, of course. So I'm really interested to see how this development goes, because last night it was quite heavy, wasn't it? Like, they really put over Serena Deeb. They give her a little promo talking about the NWA Women's Championship, suggesting it's going to be a thing going forward. So my spidey sense is tingling. I think something's going on. Maybe it's getting a little bit deeper, and I will try and ask Tony Khan about this if I get on the media call for Full Gear. With regards to Nick Aldis, I would love to see him come over on TV. I think he's a great world champion character. He really embodies the spirit of like classic NWA world champions, the Ric Flairs, the Harley Races, and so forth. He brings back a classic style that I think is missing from pro wrestling in 2020, and he would add a completely different flavor. I would love to see that. And he, of course, has history with Cody from All In and their other match together. So I think it'd be great.
I'd love to see him in. Do you reckon Smashing Pumpkins get more listens around this time of year?
Oh, absolutely, man. Listen, Siamese Dream is an all-timer. I put that record on any day of the week. Shout out to Billy Corgan, man. He's a bit weird, but he made some great music.
I thought you and like Miller and Jules would probably be a fan of his.
I wonder why.
Final question today comes from Mark Lee Willis, who says, happy Thursday, lads. Happy Thursday, Mark. Says the 31st is coming up and people are getting their costumes sorted to go. Never mind. Anyway, have you got any suggestions for wrestlers what they could wear had they gone out? He says Triple H should have gone as that vampire from Blade 3. Oh, my bad. Hey, Dick Face, you see my dog? Anyway, what should wrestlers go out as or go as for this year's Halloween, Andy?
I feel like Brock Lesnar should go as a coronavirus particle because he gets purple very quickly already, so it wouldn't require... Please don't kill me, Brock. Please don't kill me. And on top of that, I think Orange Cassidy should go as Donald Trump because he's already orange.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm just going to go for the real easy, low-hanging fruit. Your kilograms. It's Carol Baskin. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'll read some of the best ones out, or on Twitter at WhatCultureWE, of course. But let us know. Oh no, let's do it today's Unfunny. I almost forgot to mention Sami Zayn. Actually, not putting some respect on his name. Sami tweeting a lovely tweet, of course, dedicated to Tracy Smothers. He says, "If I hear Sami sucks one more time, everybody dies." Awful news to hear that we lost Tracy Smothers yesterday, but the perfect dedication, I think, there from Sami, Andy.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. Tracy Smothers, one of the all-time greatest heels of his era. Sad news yesterday. He'd had a battle with illness, unfortunately. Rest in peace. Thoughts and prayers to his family and friends. Had a very difficult time. A nice tribute from Sammy. Sammy, again, one of the good guys.
Exactly. Despite most appearances. Anyway, let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. So excited to sit down with the Dandy Boys today and review NXT and AEW Dynamite. And of course, Halloween Havoc. It's paid for itself now, that. Oh, bollocks, it's broken.
There we go.
Follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there. You can follow both of us as well. You can follow Andy at.
You can follow me at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Halloween Stout, which is what this is. I'm going to drink it tonight. Check out Top Rope Brewing, please.
Yeah,
beers are really good, and they're all about wrestling. So
exactly. Thanks to Neil and the guys for that one. Follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us. We will see you soon.